June 9th, sorry, June 9th, 2025. Riots are continuing in the Los Angeles area, but they're breaking out to other places. In fact, they seem to be also breaking out to other countries. We're getting reports tonight that there are even riots going on in Ireland. Supposedly, civil unrest and riots are taking place in Ireland tonight as people are protesting against migration there. This started after a girl was sexually assaulted and locals started protesting. Of course, we'll see where all this goes. I don't know. We'll see where all this goes. Joining us now is our buddy Jim Papp of theconservative.org, theconservative.org. What? Oh, theconservativecaucus.org, theconservativecaucus.org. What did I say? Oh, it is just theconservativecaucus.org, right? Oh, I finally got the caucus part. All right. theconservativecaucus.org. Jim, hope you had a great weekend. I'm sure, like myself, you watched what was happening in L.A., but we're hearing it spreading to other places in America tonight, with President Trump sending in 700 Marines, which is very reminiscent of what George H. Bush did during the 1992 Rodney King riots, where he sent in a few thousand National Guard and 1,500 Marines were on standby.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, I saw economist Peter St. Onge posted something. He works with the Heritage Foundation and does his own thing. And he showed that presidents have been using National Guard for putting down riots on average about every 5 years since the 1960s. So, I mean, people are trying to make it out like Donald Trump is being Hitler or being, whatever. I mean, that's just crazy. And we're finding out more and more information. I've been researching it all day long. The fact that this was totally generated. Tom Homan announced that this all happened because they were making a raid to serve warrants on criminal activity for illegal aliens. And then this popped up. It was totally organized. It's being orchestrated and paid for in part by the federal government. Some of these organizations are receiving federal funds. So this is totally generated. It is not organic. And listen, it's going to be a challenge for some time to come, but Donald Trump's determined to counter it.
Here's one clip we can play tonight. Here we go.
And we move the agenda to support working families all over the country. And if somebody gets in our way, shame on them, because we're going to run right over them, aren't we? Shame! It's time to make your voices heard. Shame on us if we don't get out there and fight like hell every single day and make our voices heard. We've got to do that. Because we are united, we are right, and we're going to stand up and we're going to fight like hell every single day. Are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to make your voices heard? Yeah! Let's do it.
All right, now they're holding up the sign of a guy that was apparently taken into custody that Maxine Waters was concerned about. I guess his name is what? Something Free David. I think he was a union worker. And I guess I don't know if he was illegal. Apparently, I guess. I don't know. We'll look it up. But I only know about it because Maxine Waters was blabbing about it yesterday. But this is your problem when your communists infiltrate your unions. And we were warning about this. When I say we, conservative, anti-communists, were warning about this in the 1950s and 60s, that when your communists infiltrate into your unions, then guess what they can do? They can organize strikes that cripple your economy, your nation, services, hospitals, everything. And that's what they've done. They've mobilized many of their unions. Now, some of their unions won't go along with it. Some of the union guys are like, I'm sorry, we've seen that America is a great place. We're working hard, gaining freedom. We get paid very well, an hourly wage. We don't want to tear down our own country. So it depends on the union you're talking about. Some of the unions started pushing back against these people, but this SEIU, those guys with the purple shirts, they were known during the Obama years, were they not?
Yeah. Listen, they are community organizers. Like SEIU is a different kind of union than your trade unions typically. Even the more left of radical left unions like the UAW can be sometimes. Of course, you had the Teamsters Union president. He didn't endorse Donald Trump, but he stayed neutral, and his members were working against those. That's not SEIU people. SEIU is a different kind of union, and the SEIU in California has been majorly behind this. And it is true. The warnings about anti-communism back in the 1950s and 60s were honestly concerning, and people were right to express those concerns. You could go overboard in your approach to it, and even though McCarthy in many ways was right about the concern he was expressing, sometimes it went overboard, and we don't want to violate the rule of law. But when people are committing crimes, they should be investigated and prosecuted, and those who are supporting them should be investigated and prosecuted. And I've got a long list of names here of left-wing organizations, even one billionaire donor who has spent a lot of money to support this effort. I mean, this is really bad. And the name's not George Soros, but I found out later that George Soros may be behind some of the other cities. So this is the time that we've got to address this particular aspect of it. Democrat funders have been causing and creating chaos in our country for at least 2 decades now, certainly every bit of 10 years. And this has to be opposed. And, the Justice Department and the FBI better get right on top of this. We don't just need the military help that's going in there now to try to quell the violence. We need an investigation, and people need to go to jail. There is definitely conspiracy to commit insurrection at the worst, and definitely to commit crimes. And it has to be opposed, and people need to go to jail.
Where are you hearing tonight that more riots are breaking out?
So the list, I've been looking this up this evening, and this is probably not an exhaustive list, but obviously Los Angeles, but they're in Chicago, Houston, New York City, Boston, Raleigh, North Carolina, Tampa, Florida was a major one that's gotten a lot of news today, and even in San Francisco. And interestingly, in Tampa, Florida, you had MAGA supporters coming out counter-protesting, which, by the way, be cautious. If you feel like you want to go out and do that, you better watch out what you're doing, because what they want is to cause something worse and to show that you were trying to cause them harm. That's the game that they play. Let the police take care of it. And in the cities that won't take care of it, let Donald Trump figure out the best way to handle that. But, get out of the city if you have to, if it gets really violent. Don't go and be part of the violence yourself. That is just a losing strategy.
Yeah. And here's an interesting thing. We got a lot of politicians saying a lot of stuff the last few days. We've got some with Maxine Waters here. But listen to this lady from the Minnesota House. Listen to what she had to say today.
Because his mother had died. My father, as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country.
What?
Yeah.
She's a member of the House in Minnesota, and she just admitted she's illegal?
And the Democrats are revolting against her in the House there. It's caused a big disruption. There was a bill the bill that she was arguing on got passed, and it shouldn't have been able to because of Democrat control. And apparently, or so it's just new news to me right now, but apparently she's going to be on the verge of losing her seat because she's doing it illegally. You got to be an American citizen to be in the State House of Representatives. But see, this is where Democrats are going. They tolerate these things. They even promote it in some ways because their goal is an anti-American goal. The Democrat Party is an anti-American party right now. Yeah. Its demise is clear. We saw so much of it over the last 10 years, but last year and this year, the Biden administration and even till now, you're seeing very clearly they do not have an American agenda at all. They undermine the Constitution. They'll use the word Constitution if they want to, but they undermine the Constitution. They are harming our institutions. They are creating chaos, and their goal is to change what America is. And we have to be aware of that and call them out for it.
Yeah. And apparently this is what's going down in New York tonight. Again, I'm afraid we're going to see a lot of this. Here we go.
Come on, let's go. Come on. Let's go. Up him up. Right. Watch the back!
All right, I'm going to take down the audio so there's no cursing. But look at there. It's a lot of cops in New York tonight, Jim.
Yeah. Well, they need to be, because this is going to get really out of hand. I have a little bit more faith in the New York City police dealing with that situation. Eric Adams has kind of come on board with recognizing how out of hand these things are. I mean, it's yet to be determined. We'll see what he actually does, and we'll make an evaluation. But I have more confidence in what they're doing than what's going on in L.A. Although the L.A. police chief did come out today and said they would consider help letting the National Guard under federal control help. And of course, they just threw in about 700 Marines by the last report. You know, I hate to see this, and I hate to get it to this, but there's a group out there helping organize this that operates under the philosophy that make every decision that your opponents take a bad decision, a no-win situation. To not do anything is a no-win situation. To do something like Donald Trump is doing is perceived to be a no-win situation. It's very tricky and difficult, but you have to stop this violence. And George H.W. Bush, for all his faults, and he's got many of them, did handle that situation in L.A. Much better.
Yeah, he did. Well, let's go see what Maxine Waters has to say, because she was sure talking about this a lot yesterday. Here we go.
Where the guns are. I want you all to take pictures of these guns and let people know that they're in our city with guns, and I'm sure they have orders to shoot and kill. I don't know, but otherwise they wouldn't have guns.
One question, Representative Ms. Waters, if there's one statement that or a message that you can send to Donald Trump, what is that message here today?
My message to Donald Trump is you are a cruel human being, and that you're using the poorest people in the land, the most vulnerable people in the land, to promote your politics. You are wrong. We know what this is all about. We have people who are immigrants here who are trying to seek a better living, who have come from places where they have experienced this kind of thing that he's doing here today. People who work every day, people who are paying taxes, who are raising their families, who are supporting education. They should not be treated this way. They should be given an opportunity to tell their story, whom they are, and why they're here, and ask the United States to please do what the Constitution allows us to do, and that is give them consideration for having citizenship here.
Ms. Maxine Waters, thank you for those words. Another thing, do you find it coincidental that this is happening at this time of the year right now? Is there anything that you can correlate with the timeline that it's happening with right now alongside?
No, I think that the president has not been able to live up to the threat that he used during his campaign, where he was going to get millions of them out of here. And I think it's come to the point where he thinks he's got to show something. But also, his ridiculousness has taken over the armed services to celebrate his birthdays coming up. And people are saying, are you going to spend millions of dollars celebrating your birthday using the armed services to do it? And I think that adds to it. All of this is coming to the forefront now.
And Congresswoman, how should the city of LA and the state of California react to this? What's the smart play here?
All of the elected officials in this city should be on the street. The mayor should be on the street. The city council should be on the street. Everybody should be on the street. All of the state elected officials. All of us in Congress. We're supposed to be in Congress tomorrow, but I want you to know I'm trying to stop him from getting richer and richer on crypto. The more money he has, the more powerful he has, the more he will elect people. So we got a lot of work to do.
So bodies on the street, basically.
Bodies on the street. People on the street. Absolutely.
Ms. Waters, before we let you go, anything that you can say to anybody watching or the public that wants to come out here, or just simply watching, or wants to know anything that you want to tell them that they should do or shouldn't do?
Well, here's what I want to support. I want to support people having a voice. Peaceful protests are okay. They're all right. I want them to know what happened in the civil rights movement, where we got on the street, where we marched, where we fought, and we made the government change, and we got voting rights.
Peacefully.
Peacefully. And so people can protest peacefully. They should come out and they should have a voice, and they should not allow the intimidation to force them to do nothing. Do something.
Do something.
Something.
All right, whatever. How can you equate a bunch of illegal invaders, including Trans de Aragua gang members, MS-13, fentanyl pouring into our country with cartels and drugs, CCP military-age males? How on earth can you equate trying to get these people out of the country? People that are scamming and gaming the system? How can you equate that with the civil rights movement, for Pete's sake?
You can't at all. Like she's talking. I'm harking back to the earlier part of the video where she's saying to express their constitutional rights to be able. I'd like to know what provision of the Constitution she's freaking talking about. Like there is no provision of the Constitution for illegal aliens, and there's might be some proper approach and action to doing things, of course, but there's nothing constitutional that they have any guarantee to. And I want to repeat, Tom Homan's team was serving a warrant, an issued warrant for criminal illegals to be arrested. And this is the response to it. They are so against the rule of law. They don't want the rule. They only want the rule of law when it benefits them, and you're not even really getting it anyway. This is very third world behavior. These people, Maxine Waters, chief among them, there are like third world dictators that want to grab onto power. They want to shut down all political opponents. They will use fear and intimidation and sometimes violence and definitely a corrupt legal system to take you on if you oppose them. Maxine Waters was out calling for violence. She's called for violence quite a bit. Like, this woman is absurd. I have no idea why we have to have this kind of a person in our Congress, because she's the kind of person, when I say that I know I've been acquainted with a lot of members of Congress, and it really scares me, the people we elect to that place. She's one of those people you think of.
Yeah, she is indeed. Apparently, there was an SEIU guy that was arrested. This is U.S. Attorney Bill Essely. Federal agents were executing a lawful judicial warrant at an LA work site this morning when David Huruta deliberately obstructed their access by blocking their vehicle. He was arrested for interfering with federal officers and will face arraignment in federal court on Monday. Let me be clear. I don't care who you are. If you impede federal agents, you will be arrested and prosecuted. No one has the right to assault, obstruct, or interfere with federal authorities carrying out their duties. So apparently he wasn't illegal. I heard there were some folks saying he was. He's apparently not any illegal, but he was, according to this U.S. attorney, involved in trying to impede the federal agents who were on a job site, work site, trying to deal with some illegals. So that's who Maxine Waters got upset with, and that's what those signs were about Free David. That's what those were, just for context.
And
there you go.
No one listens to a word Maxine Waters says. She's stupid. But now you know exactly what was taking place. And the fact that these people will commit the kind of violence they're committing over this kind of a situation is absolutely absurd. There have already been millions of dollars of damage done. It could be a whole lot more than that. I don't know. But it's certainly millions. I mean, I've already seen video of at least 24 police vehicles that are literally totaled and destroyed.
It's more than that. There's more than that.
Oh, sure. No. I know. I'm saying it's easy that it's millions. It could be tens of millions already, and it might grow up a lot bigger. But the real point of all this is these are being orchestrated and funded by the left. And here's a little surprise, Brandon. I don't know if you're aware of this, but one of the groups involved with this is the Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights in LA.
Yep.
Guess what? They in their last reporting period for their organization, they reported $33 million in government funds. Now, here's what's really interesting. In 2022 and 2023, they got two interesting $250,000 grants, a total of $500,000 from the Department of Homeland Security.
Yep. That's in my Worldview report tonight. That this group, their money shot up.
Yeah. Big time. They went from about $12 million to about $33 million of government grants. What I understand is that the vast majority of those government grants are coming from the state of California.
That's
you
right.
know, with Governor Gavin Newsom, who's saying how Donald Trump is the problem. I mean, please. And there, I don't know this for sure, and I can't call for it because I don't have the details. But when Donald Trump is saying maybe Gavin Newsom needs to be arrested, I don't know. I wonder, does he need to be arrested? Is he using government resources to stir up violent riots to try to oppose Donald Trump? I mean, please. This was the guy who started his podcast and tried to seem like he was, willing to talk to all sides. Bull. He's got one agenda. It's a radical leftist one. He supports it by his actions, and his words contradict what he actually does, which when I grew up, we called that lying.
When for Brandon House Live tonight, folks, so maybe you want to tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever you do. We're going to do probably a good hour or more with communist expert Trevor Loudon tonight. He was on my radio show today, but we just scratched the surface, so he'll go longer tonight. Trevor Loudon, tweet, text, email, Facebook, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern tonight, worldviewtube.com. Look at what Trevor put out today. We'll get into it tonight. We cannot fight a phantom. Communists are organizing, promoting, and engaging in violence in Los Angeles and attempting to spark similar actions all over the country. Unfortunately, many people are referring to these rioters as anti-ICE protesters, a mob, or broadly as far-left extremists, which misses the mark. Tied closely to the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, Centro CSO took credit for initiating and organizing the anti-ICE protest in LA. The pro-China Freedom Road Socialist Organization runs Fight Back News and was linked to the 2020 George Floyd protest in Minneapolis. They vowed to destabilize Trump's America by making the country ungovernable. And again, we'll get into this tonight, but here's their own website, Freedom Road Social Organization. They're pro CCP, according to Trevor's research. And he's been talking about them for years. Here's their headline, Build the Movement Against Trump, Make the U.S. Ungovernable. So we're going to get into a lot more of this tonight. Want to comment? Yeah.
Well, let's just go to one of the funders of this, Neville Roy Singham. He is linked to China and to the CCP. He's a tech billionaire, sold his company, has built larger and similar companies now that work directly with the CCP. Okay, the Chinese Communist Party. When you consider also that the Party for Socialism and Liberation is part of this event, do you know what their stated goal is? I got to read this closely here. Their goal is describes itself as a revolutionary socialist party, as the party believes only a revolution can end capitalism and establish socialism. I mean, this group has printed up most of the signs that you see, many of them. And, and again, and people on the left are going to say, oh my gosh, this is anti-communist McCarthyism, goodness. This is the stated goal of these organizations. And they're out in the streets right now in LA, and these and other groups are organizing around the country to expand this. Tomorrow, you're going to see cities all over the country with these similar kinds of protests. Some will be violent, some won't. But the whole goal is the overthrow of the American government. It is insurrection. I don't know how else to describe it. If I'm wrong, I would like some legal scholar to tell me how I'm missing something here and show me why this is not insurrection when you've got a coordinated effort all over the country to take down a U.S. administration that Americans voted for. It's nothing less than that.
And would you be shocked at the same time we're talking about the Freedom Road Socialist Organization and their apparent affinity for the CCP, that the New York Post has this headline tonight? Another Chinese scientist from Wuhan charged with smuggling illegal biological material into the U.S. A Chinese researcher allegedly tried to smuggle biological materials into the U.S. from Wuhan and lied to the feds about the secretive scheme. The individual was arrested on Sunday after landing at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport on a flight from Shanghai. According to charging documents, she was charged with smuggling goods in the U.S. and making false statements. Of course, we don't forget we had the scientist, the ones that had the ones that had the fungus. Remember, they caught the dangerous crop-killing fungus. So this is the second time in what, a week?
All from Wuhan.
So maybe a little heads up, people. I think China's planning another biological attack, which, by the way, that's right there in the unrestricted warfare document from 1999, written by two Chinese communist colonels. They talk about cleaning up America, taking down America. They defend the PLO, by the way, Palestinian Liberation Organization, and other things. But, excuse me, I'm sorry. That's burned down the American implementation from the Manifesto of the Weather Underground. The unrestricted warfare was, though, about using biological weapons and other things, including the media and propaganda. So it seems to me that this is clearly unrestricted warfare from the Chinese Communists 1999. And by the way, anyone can get that book online and read it. It's free.
I will say this: if there could be any credible connection to the Chinese Communist Party taking, funding these sorts of things or helping to encourage it in any way, I would shut off everything immediately if I were Donald Trump. They have a financial situation if that happened. I don't know how you can countenance a country like that having anything to do with us economically when they're literally out to destroy us. And they are, and we already know it. But this is a very serious situation that we need to recognize, despite whatever China's direct involvement is in this. We need to recognize we got people in this country who literally want to get rid of the Constitution. They want to set up a different form of government. They're convinced, we know this from the 1619 Project, Ibrahim Kendi's writings, many people's writings. We know that they believe the Constitution is a farce and it needs to be taken down. That is their goal. And I don't mind whatever political discussion we might have if we're working within the actual rubric of the Constitution. But if your goal is to undermine the Constitution, we aren't the United States of America without the Constitution. There's no such thing as the United States of America without that Constitution being in place. If your goal is to undermine it and to get rid of it, you are literally an enemy of this country.
I think MAGA crowd is now confronting the anti-ICE protesters in Tampa, Florida. I'm going to pull down the volume because, again, I don't know what words are going to be used. And I try to keep our network family friendly. Look at that. Trump is a traitor. Really? So anyway, a little shoving going back and forth. You see people wearing their MAGA hats. But again, I don't know. I know that it's good to call these people out, but I would urge the MAGA crowd not to engage these people. That's what they want. They want you to engage. They want fights. They want to hurt you, or worse. Remember the Trump guy, the Trump supporter that was on a skateboard or a one of those, what do you call those, Logan? Scooters? And he was shot during one of the protests. Remember that? Remember that, Jim?
Yes, I do remember that. Yes. What was that, about 3-4 months ago or something? Or was it this now?
No, this was a couple years ago when he was president the first time around.
Yeah.
And the guy was shot. I think he was riding a scooter or something and got shot right in the middle of a protest. So again, I just think the MAGA people, make your voice known, make your voice heard, but I would suggest people not try to mix it up physically with these people. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. In fact, the best thing everyone could do is to call your local legislator and your congressman en masse. Every single MAGA person in this country needs to call them and say, we demand something gets done about this. We demand that you support Donald Trump in fixing this problem. We demand that you deal with this immigration issue. You've got Don Bacon, Republican from Nebraska, wants to get rid of any funding of the wall. You got couple senators talking about this, Republican senators. And it's like, are you crazy? Do you not even understand what's going on right now? Do you not know what the American people said that they wanted, what they wanted in their elected officials? I mean, this it's time for Republicans to now get some cojones and decide that they are going to get rid of their cowardly nature and stand against this. Now, by the way, there is a move in Congress today to deal with that, but we can talk about that.
TheConservativeCaucus.org, TheConservativeCaucus.org, TheConservativeCaucus.org is his website. Thank you, Jim. Ours is Worldview too, but you can support us at worldviewfoundation.com to keep pushing out free programming so we can help you understand the times. Worldviewfoundation.com. May God save America. Take care. Tonight on the Worldview Report, protests turned violent in Los Angeles and scenes reminiscent of the 2020 so-called Summer of Love. But instead of Black Lives Matter, this time the aggrieved party is illegal invaders. Pope Leo XIV criticizes the surge of nationalist political movements in the world as he prayed Sunday for reconciliation and dialogue, a message that echoes the globalist agenda of his predecessor. Is Pope Leo becoming a mirror image of Pope Francis? Two separate companies, one based in Japan and the other in China. They paused their electric vehicle battery projects in the United States. We'll explain why. And a major new study confirms that autism is not a matter of genetic condition, but is caused by toxic chemicals being injected into children. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brandon House. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brandon House.
Good evening and welcome to the Worldview Report. We start off tonight with riots gathering steam in Los Angeles, and with it, total chaos in the streets. Watch this.